facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. Grateful you're here today. Oh my goodness, my guest today, we're going to be two old ladies talking about naked leadership. What? And we're going to have so much fun. We're so on the same page about what's going on in our world, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, we're going to take a 22-second mini vacation to get a little grounded. Okay, we're going to breathe in calm for 7 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So you ready? Let's go. Here, breathe in some calm. Hold. Relax, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that helps you like it does me. So here we are. This is Carol Metz Murray is my guest today, and we've had 10 minutes of crazy tech stuff going on. So now we're getting ready to introduce you. So while I'm working on all this, I want to ask you to please share who you are in this world, and then we'll talk a bit about what you do.
Thank you, Charlotte, for having me on your show. I'm Carol Metz Murray. I am the founder of the Naked Leadership Institute, and the qualifier for you and me and everyone listening is that you get to keep your clothes on, because this is an inside job. I am a coach and a consultant and also a public speaker, which I really enjoy sharing my gifts with the world. And I have just recently launched the Naked Leadership Institute. My life has been in leadership since I was little. And it was my dad who said, Carol, you need to learn about leadership. And that started at the age of 5 with a herd of horses, and progressed just throughout my whole life and my career. I'm also a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 11. So really, I just am so blessed with the family that I have. And my life has been built on all of my experiences, some not so good, some really wonderful, and they make me in who I am today. And I am so blessed because of all of those experiences. So that's me in a nutshell, so to speak.
I love it. So we have, I noticed that you talk a lot about courage, and I'm like, I named my program Your Courageous Coach. Charla's amazing life mentoring, courageous life mentoring system. And I was held up at a gun 7 years ago this week, at a gun to my head, and I named it that a week beforehand. So I already thought I was courageous. But I looked on your website and I looked through your stuff a little bit and found out that you had a gun to your head a couple of times, only it was by a family member, I believe. And you've survived some incredible things. I will talk some about that. So how do you find your courage to, I don't know, one of the things is having guns to your head.
Well, certainly having a gun to your head will either you will respond in fear or you'll respond in courage, and you won't even realize that it actually is courage, that is helping you to move forward.
And it's a choice. So courage is a choice. And so when I had a gun in my head, I had zero fear. Who I say I am is bold faith, no fear. So I'd said it for so long that when I had the moment, I had no fear, shaken, of course, but so it's all choice, and we get to choose. And if we get to speak who we are and who we want to be, right? So
absolutely,
chose.
absolutely, we get to choose. It is all about our free will. It is all about choice and courage. To me too, in those times of, yes, having a gun at my head, yes, it was courage, and I knew that I needed to deal with it right there and then. And I was able to actually talk myself out of what was sitting or poking at me and stop that. And yes, that took tremendous courage. And, you know, as Matt Damon said in the movie, I Bought a Zoo, all it takes is 20 seconds of insane courage for you to make a decision to act. And truly, that courage that you have inside of you, to me, is like, it's like a muscle, and it's there to be worked and used and built. It's like building a courage app, and we all have it. All of you in the audience and the world have courage. It's a matter of bringing it forward and using it in all circumstances, in all that you are.
And it is a muscle we can learn, right? And something you were in you didn't have courage for a while. Like, it sounds like you raised your 4 kids in a very violent environment that you were afraid to leave, and then till you had one day, I guess, or built up enough courage to do something about it. And I'm feeling like that's a major part of your story to
That
be
is a major part.
fearless.
Yes, that is a major part of my story, in really that time in living inside a violence-filled marriage. And yes, it takes courage. It's like building up the courage to leave. And there's many reasons why people stay in relationships that are violent and incredibly unhealthy. It's for a variety of reasons, and not believing that you can make it on your own, or what will happen to the children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yet all of those experiences, as I said earlier on, have helped to shape me. And I will share with you, it's something that I share, but actually not all that often. The day that I got married, I knew that morning I was making the biggest mistake of my life. And yet I went through with it. I knew that. I felt that intrinsically deep inside of me. Yet, as a result of all of that and all that I endured, I have 4 beautiful children. And what a gift each one of them is. And so that was part of staying within that. The other part of that too was all of those experiences really, yes, helped me bring out my courage. But they also helped me to walk the path of naked leadership, of really, who am I being right now, and who was I then? And using those experiences to really be me, to be the me, be here, be now with you.
And I noticed you talk about the word be and being, and I don't know if you're familiar with landmark education, but it's like, who do you be is a language that I learned in that environment. And, you might want to mention, who do you be and why that is so important to you?
Well, I'm aware of Landmark. I myself have not attended Landmark, but for me, that be, who are you being, is part and parcel of the naked leader. It is like, who are you right now, Charlotte? Who are you being right now? This is you. This is the real you. I mean, I could say the authentic you, but this is the real you. Who is in front of me on the Zoom is you. And I'm feeling your love. I'm sensing your presence. That to me is being. And so that question is who are we being in every present moment? Whether we're by ourselves, with ourselves, whether we're in conversation and connection with someone else, whether we're in a crowd, whether we are sitting and meditating, that to me is, when I say, who are we being? It really is that, see if I can do it, that heart connection. Yes, yes. Into me I see, and into me I be.
So leadership, naked leadership is, you said in the beginning, you get to keep your clothes on. That's, at this stage of my life, that's a really good thing. but why did you come up with that term, and how did you get that involved with a term called naked leadership? And we had, conversation before. It was like, here, I love that when, I'm 70. I know you're in the senior years, when we can do something that kind of makes people go, huh, she's got more to her than meets the eye, maybe, or something like that, right?
Well, naked leadership was born on the day that I was completing my last class in my last subject, just before I was to begin to write my thesis for my Master's of Public Administration. And I was living in the far north at that time, and I traveled from Dawson City to Whitehorse for the university classes. And this was the University of Southeast Alaska. But it was,
and you're Canadian, you live in Canada, right?
I live in Canada, and I had the honor and privilege of doing my master's through the Southeast Alaska, and did that in Whitehorse, Yukon. But it was that day when I drove the 500 kilometers, which is a little over 300 miles, that the majority of that trip I drove being consciously unconscious, meaning I didn't know I was driving. When I came out of that stupor, I panicked, and I knew something was seriously wrong with me. When I got to Whitehorse, I called my doctor, and her words to me were, Carol, you will either do something about this, or I'll make you do something. She said, you are in such high stress and anxiety, your body is burnt out. You've been living this your whole life. And she was right. And it was right at that moment when she said, I'll make you deal with this if you don't deal with it, that I made that decision that I needed to change my life. And really and truly, I had already started to slide down a very dark rabbit hole because of my past that I had not dealt with, meaning all of the issues coming out of the violence-filled marriage, and going further back into my childhood, when I was sexually assaulted over a number of years, and nobody would listen to me that this was happening. And so there was a lot of unresolved trauma. So build on top of that, somebody who was me, who decided the way to deal with that was to become a workaholic. That was one of my coping strategies. Well, there's only so much for everyone listening that our body can handle before it says, no more, I ain't walking that path with you. And down the rabbit hole I went. And as I slid down that rabbit hole, knowing that I needed to change my life, that really was the beginning of Naked Leadership, because I then had to look at, who are you, Carol? Who really and truly are you? So start stripping away the personas, take off all the masks, melt the glass barriers that are in front of you, and have a look at who you are. And let me tell you, what a journey that has been. Because, golly gee, I found a Carol that I didn't know, and it was like falling in love with her again. And there were parts of Carol that I let go of. And what a journey, what a discovery. And for me, that really is about getting real, getting into the center of your heart and being naked. And yes, when I say naked leadership and I put the qualifier on there that you get to keep your clothes on, the reaction I get from people is when I say naked leadership, I watch the walls go up. And when I say, when I qualify that you get to keep your clothes on, then the walls come down and people are open and receptive. But the journey of naked leadership for me is learning to lead yourself first. Yes, be the leader that you would like to follow. And for some, leadership is, well, if there's no one following you, then you aren't a leader. However, when you lead your own life, you then can lead others. You then live your dreams because you can lead yourself through your dreams.
Yeah, truly. You've touched on so many important things, but authenticity is the new sexy. I think that word is a little overused these days, but it's better than fake, right? So I love that being real is,
Yeah.
I mean, who else do you have to be? So there's no reason. And when you start looking, and this is something I say often, so many people do not love themselves enough. They don't love themselves enough to know how to love others, right? So learning to love yourself enough to step out of that marriage or to step into these healing or whatever. And I mean, your list of, I love this, a courage catalyst is a word that you have used. And it's, why can you say that? I mean, a couple of more things about the courage side of things is, I mean, you were raped and survived rape. You survived 6 car accidents. You've survived international conflict, mafia, all kinds of stuff. And the one other one I want to talk about, because I was a flight attendant for 34 years. You said you survived an airplane that lost both engines. Was it commercial? Was it tiny? What was just a quick story around that?
Oh, well, that too was in the far north, and it was a small commercial flight and flying from Whitehorse to Dawson. And I happened at the time, I was living in Dawson. I was the chief administrative officer for the city of Dawson, which meant that I was responsible for ensuring that the city operations moved forward. And I worked closely with the mayor and elected officials. On this flight, I was coming, the mayor and I were actually coming back from a meeting, and so we were flying into Dawson. And I'm sitting on the one side and he's on the other, and there was 2 seats on, I think there was 4, 8, 10, 12 seats in the plane. And I can see into the cockpit, and so can he. But I noticed, I saw one of the engine lights go off. And I happened to look over at him, and he had seen it as well. And he raised his right eye, and it was like, let's be calm, because we don't want to get everybody else worried and upset. A little ways further in, the other engine light went off, and I heard that one go clunk. And I turned to look at him, and he looked at me, and the message was, okay, Carol, let's stay calm. And I just shook my head. Yes, let's stay calm. And the reason is, when you're coming into Dawson City to get onto the runway at the airport, it's not just a straight in. You actually have to fly around a mountain. So when the plane was already, descending, and the question was, are we going to get around that mountain, or are we going to end up in the mountain? And it was a moment for me to just sit quietly and say a great big prayer of, protect us, help us land safely. And we did. As we went around the mountain, we were already very low to the ground. And I was also watching the pilot, and I knew he was doing everything he could to maintain the plane and keep it moving in the direction that he wanted it to move. And it was interesting, as I couldn't see the co-pilot all that well, but I knew just with watching the pilot, and I kept sending him energy vibes, is, you're doing okay, you're doing okay, you're doing okay. And let me tell you, when the wheels hit the ground, hit the pavement of the runway, oh, there was a great big, shout in the plane, and the realization that every passenger knew that something had happened, and everybody was just so thankful. So yeah, when the plane stopped and the pilot had shut down the gauges and all of that, he stood up, and as he was standing up, he looked at me, and he was just white, like just totally white, and so scared. And what I did was gave him a smile and just a nod. You've done okay. But yeah, that's as close to a crash as I'd want it.
No kidding. So, and there's not a doubt in my mind that what you were sending to him, and, the lifting of the prayers, it made a difference, a huge impact. And, it kind of gets really quiet when there's no engine noise, right? So we just,
Yes.
so, and good for you for maintaining the calm. I'm telling you, that is a huge gift in a crisis situation, right? To just maintain the calm.
Yes.
And because his upset draws upset, historic what's the word when people get upset?
Oh, his concentration.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was very, very valuable, and I can't even imagine. And obviously we're very grateful, but I do that. I put the shield of protection around everything. Psalm 91, it's not religion, but Psalm 91, God's umbrella protection, every protection promise in one chapter. I play it over and over and over if there's a tornado warning or something here. So we can, and this is, Jesus said, we can do what he did and even more. And if that's the case, I wasn't taught that fundamentally, right? So if that's the case, if we can do what Jesus did and even more, that's a lot. And I believe if we learn to stand in the authority of that, we have the authority to receive that authority, we can do so much more than we've been taught. In fact, we've been taught quite the opposite, that we need to stay small. So you and I are on the same page on that. And I'm telling you, that's an incredible story. And I, can't even imagine. I mean, 34 years, so we had several times that things were not good, but the oxygen mask never even fell down. I didn't even deal with that. And I flew maximum hours and I commuted to and from different cities to work. So I'm very, very grateful and blessed for that career. But that's a story. And that is, in your repertoire of how you stay courageous, because it's a mindset. Mindset is huge. And you were probably hadn't even studied a lot of that stuff at that time by then. I mean, I don't know how long ago it was, but you were fairly young, I think.
Yes, I was. And you're right. I mean, it was courage. And that, again, as I'm listening to you, is a reminder for for the audience, for everyone, that courage resides within you. Yes.
And if you take that step, when you're in a situation, I believe I have angels protecting me, because there have been 3 separate occasions where I was so close, I could see the whites of their eyes when I was in the next lane, but my car was in the next lane with no adrenaline. I claim the shield of protection. I claim, thank you for that. It's all gratitude. Thank you for the protection and for the angels and my angels had moved my car 3 separate times that I would have been in a pretty bad wreck. And and you were in 6. So is what I do believe, that so often if we don't give up, we keep punching to the end, that there will be often a miraculous adjustment in your situation, your circumstance. So I read, anyway, y'all, everybody go to Carol Metz Murray, CarolMetzMurray.com, and read some of her stories, and go on Facebook and LinkedIn and find Carol Metz Murray, METZ in the middle. So that is, I was just mesmerized by some of your stories, and it wasn't a lot. I didn't read a lot, but I picked out some very powerful things. And going back to the courage, you said there's 3 C's in courage, right? The mastering the 3 C's of courage, which are curiosity,
connection,
capabilities, and
connection. That's right. And all of
what does those mean to you?
Well, to me, curious, be curious. I've always been curious from the time I was a little girl, with lots of questions about, why this, why that, what's happening now. But as we live our life, be curious. Be curious about what you see, because the more curious you are, for me, the more real you are. It's that whole presence of curiosity. And each and every one of us have the capability to be curious. We were
like a child, right? So I want to learn, I want to absorb every single thing I can. And I have one of my books, The Split Second Transformation, Change Your Words, Change Your Life, 31 Daily Practices. One of those 31 days talks about the word, a word that we can use in conversation so that we can have discourse rather than division. You know,
Yes,
it's like, huh, isn't that interesting? Tell me more. How did
yes,
you come to that opinion? You must have a different source of information than I do. How, how can we, because our world is so set on being divided in fear and confusion. And when you have that sense of curiosity, you can go, huh, I've never even heard that before. That's very interesting. Instead of getting this offended and like, I'm right, you're wrong. I call it the Jerry Springer mentality, if you remember that. Um,
it's,
we
yeah,
have that curiosity of just, well, and agree to disagree, shake hands, whatever.
ab-
But we don't have to hurt each other or fight each other over an opinion because no one has all the answers. And
that's right.
this is, in this day and age, this year, if somebody has a difference of opinion, I'm in the United States, we got big things going on next month. And there's a lot of uh, discord.
Well,
But if we can just, so we have different sources we obviously have different sources of information. What I believe and what you believe don't line up, but that doesn't mean we can't like each other.
that's right. That that really, if we use that as a dividing line, then we will stay divided. It's very, very okay for different opinions. It's a matter of what, from my perspective, what we are being called to to do and to be is really be open to those differing opinions. And that really is where capabilities come in, is to listen to them. Don't necessarily have to agree with you, but we can listen to them and we can rise above them, still liking each other, but having different opinions. We are all unique. We are all connected, but we are unique. We are all just a wee bit different. So really, folks, let's stop this whole thing about division and let's build on unity and harmony and create a world of love. And that to me is connection, because we are all connected. We, we're connected here on Zoom. And that's one of the gifts that has come out of the last number of years, is that the world is now connected. So if we're connected, then what has us being so divided? And let's stand back and think for ourselves versus allowing someone else to think for us. Yes, we can have some wonderful, wonderful conversations. Absolutely. As the book behind you says, the change. Be the change you want to see. And open up that lane that you're walking in and really begin to explore, be curious, get connected, because you're very capable of all of that. Every one of us are.
I've been on a path for many, many, many years that I believe there has been some agendas that literally there's some less than stellar people that are in our past, in our history, in the last, actually many years, that have an agenda to keep us in fear and divided and small. And when we can turn off our devices, turn off that black box on the wall and have conversation and be still and know, listen to that still small voice, be aware of who we really are, that naked leader inside of us leading ourselves. Yeah. So truly bringing it back to that. But
Yeah.
when I do believe that box has literally been an agenda box, and it's driving fear and division and confusion. And the more we keep on it, keep it on, and keep scrolling, then we can never be united. And so I'm grateful for this kind of conversation. I feel like we've got a lot of the same philosophies around all that.
Yes. And the tools and technology, absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. However, as you have said, they create disconnection. They create separation. And disconnection, I mean, when we disconnect from others, we're also disconnecting from who we are. And when we disconnect from who we are, then quite frankly, we slide down rabbit holes, such as what I did. And that journey then is of reconnecting to who you are, to that curiosity, and connect and be connected to yourself, which is, again, I'll come back to being the naked leader. And whether you are a mom, whether you are a CEO, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a tradesperson, whatever, is first and foremost, be connected to who you are. That really is leading yourself, then lead others, live your dreams. That is so important. Through my eyes, yes.
And you have the tools, right? So you have the credentials. You list the credentials out the gazoo, and a whole list of things and testimonies about how you help people. You're a coach, right? How you can people. And I saw over and over, and you listen. You can see, you can hear and see things that maybe we don't even see about ourselves, right? And your clients. So I'm like, I need you. So,
Well,
so that's a gift. I mean, that's a gift, and it's a learned, part of it is a learned gift, but our experiences create who we are. But wow, that's as high a testimony as you can get, is when people are like, she saw right through me, or she could see things I didn't even know about myself.
Well, and that's one of my gifts that I'm able to share with clients, is my radical presence and radical listening. Is I get to see the real you. And then that is, my role is that I champion you to bring out the real you. And as you read some of my testimonials, I mean, as one client said, and has said, has come back to me and said to me several different times, is, you believed in me. You saw in me what I wasn't seeing, and you helped me to move beyond fear to courage, to step forward, to create my business.
And that's the gift. That's it's an incredible gift. And, the gift of presence, the gift of being, the gift of hearing, the gift of listening, and really learning and hearing what's being, years and years ago, I came up with, I just want to be heard. And it was in regard to a marriage. And I was like, I just want to be heard, but I want to be heard for what I'm saying and probably what I'm not saying. Because a lot of times we're not saying, because a lot of times we don't know. We don't really know, but I would like that. I love that in a partner to like, well, tell me more about that. I mean, I didn't, let's talk through this, or whatever that happens to be. So that's a huge blessing and gift for the people that are in your circle to have that.
Well, and I feel so blessed, really and truly, as I watch someone blossom. That is such a gift to me, because it's like a rose watching or a peony or a tulip or whatever, a daisy, whatever it might be, watching that flower open and stepping into who they really are. And if I may, will share a story of one client who came to me, and there were a lot of tears. And tears, as I said to the client, that is a way of beginning to kind of clear out what you have been holding. And it was on the third visit, and the tears again, which was just like a river. And because I am who I am, out of my mouth came the words, "When are you going to stop running?" And I scanned her body as she was sitting in a chair in front of me, and she was wearing running shoes. But when I said that, the tears immediately stopped. And she looked at me and she said, "I always wear running shoes," very defiant. And I just looked at her and I said, "Maybe you want to change the type of shoes that you're wearing." And that's all I said. She looked at me. She stood up and she turned and looked at me again. And she walked out. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I just sat with that. It was about 5 weeks later, she came back, she called and she said, "I'd like to come and see you." And I said, "Absolutely." The first thing she said when I saw her, and she lifted her right leg and she said, "I'm now wearing walking shoes." And I just looked at her and said, "Yay." And she said, "And I want you to know, from the day that I walked out when we last met," she said, "I have now," she said, "I have found my own apartment and I am moving in at the end of the month. I have registered to go back to school to upgrade my skills." She said, "And I've also gone to the court and filed documentation to get back joint custody of my child." And I looked at her and I said, "Wow, you are amazing." I said, "Isn't that amazing what has happened when you put on walking shoes?" She said, "Yes, I no longer wear the running shoes." And, so for her, the running shoes, that was a metaphor of her life. Is she, whatever her life was, and there was lots of trauma in her earlier life, but it was, she got to that point of getting out of the running shoes, then there was letting go of the shame, letting go of the pain, letting go of the guilt, and beginning to step into who she really is, to really claim who she is. And she has moved forward and rebuilt her life. Just absolutely amazing.
So it sounds like I'm attracting a lot of what are called intuitive healers or intuitive. Obviously you have that gift. You're an NLP practitioners, a master, and so intuition, I
Yes.
guess, is a huge gift in your world.
Yeah.
We all have it, but you've honed it, and that's
Yeah.
really precious, that story. And to me, sometimes tears are just cleansing, but so often I would say you're a coach, and coaching is helping us move forward, whereas therapy is looking back and our childhood and wah, and you did this and poor thing, and oh my God, and you continue to wallow in the past.
Yes.
How can you step into your future if you got your eyes on the rearview mirror instead? So that, I feel like you've got that gift to where let's move, running shoes. Who would have ever thought that her shoes had anything to do with anything? And obviously they did. so, and she, especially when she got triggered by it, right? Got defiant. Well, these are my, I always remember, you know, and whatever that is, that's what you want to look at. Whatever that thing is, like, I always, or I never. And let me just tell you, that is a direct umbilical cord attached to you with whatever you just said. I'll never be like my mom. And that means, oh yeah, you will. So, right.
There's an attachment there. Absolutely.
Don't use those always and never words, you know, for.
But it was, I mean, it was such a wonderful gift to be able to witness her
transformation. Yeah.
Transformation of moving forward.
Wow. What a blessing and a gift, and a great story. You've got it the rest of your life because you did it, you know, and it's impactful. I mean, it touched me. So, you know, nobody gets through life without a story. We all have them. If we have, you know, nobody is unscathed.
No,
and when we can let that go, and the shame thing. So you mentioned, so we met at Bree Talks, right? Did we meet it? Okay, through Terry Lee. I talk about her almost every week because, you know, man, she's got this beautiful speakers group and is masterful at pulling this together. And it's only a couple of months old, really. She's got a great thing. And I've met several amazing people like you and many others that are also being guests on my show. And I'm just honored. So Bree Talks, BRI Talks.
Yes.
Or Let's Talk Bree.com, and Bree, bold, real, and impactful. So it's a faith-based speakers group. So,
and you know, I encourage individuals, you know, if you're wanting a community, a faith-based community, or tribe, however you refer to it, is reach out to Bree.com, reach out to Tara Lee Harrison. I mean, she is a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful human being.
She lives near me, and I met her at my house on March 1st in an event. And since that time, she had not even started in March 1st of this year. So she had not even started Bree Talks, and it's just gone global now. I mean, it's really, it's a great place to be. I think it's called Let's Talk Bree.com. I think is that what she actually has the website, but reach out. We'll put you in there with her because she's helping us as speakers. As it's not a religious thing at all, but people that want to speak about their faith, you know, it's a safe place to learn that gifting from whatever level you actually are, from wherever you happen to be.
Yes, it's learning to share your message in a safe environment. And so really and truly, Terry Lee is there to guide you.
Gifted, isn't she?
To help you grow. Yes. And you may also know Elian Hahn.
Elian is a show host on Win Win Women, and she's the one that brought Terry Lee into my house. That we had a Win Win Women event on International Women's Day. So I had a little gathering, and it was almost spirit filled. I mean, it was just extraordinary. You know, it wasn't me. It was, you know, how it came together. But
it was spirit bringing everyone together.
It sure was, and it's been beautiful.
Absolutely. So
we're at the top of the hour, and I know we started late, but we still need to end at the top of the hour. So I really, Carol Metz Murray.com, CarolMetzMurray.com, and it's a beautiful site. It's got a lot of it's worth finding you. I want people to find you, and I know your LinkedIn is a big one as well. And
what I was also going to say is, on my website there is also a free gift, and that is the free gift is debunking courage. So certainly I encourage you, as the listeners, go to my website and download that free gift. And it has been such a pleasure to spend time with you. I feel
so much.
blessed. So good.
We love each other. So when my message is unconditional love, I mean, really unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, not unconditional boundaries, right? So there's that. And you've been a huge blessing to me, and I love you so much. And I appreciate you spending your hour with me today. And we will, I always like to end up, I just always say, and at the end of my time here, I say, and always, always, always remember to choose joy.
Yes.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.